"You're nothing but trash in my courtroom." The words slice through the heavy silence like a whip. Sheriff Bradley Cole, a towering figure in uniform, leans forward, his baton pressing against the cheek of Dr. Maya Washington. The courtroom, a federal chamber meant to embody fairness and law, is frozen in stunned disbelief. No one dares to breathe too loudly, yet every pair of eyes is locked on the grotesque scene. A black woman, dignified in her charcoal suit, being degraded at the very altar of justice. Maya does not flinch. Her salt and pepper hair frames a calm, resolute face, but her eyes burn with unspoken fire. She stands still, her posture unbroken, though the sting of Cole's words carries the weight of centuries of prejudice. The officers behind him chuckle, their boots tapping the floor, feeding on his arrogance. For them, this is entertainment, a morning spectacle before the trial even begins. The audience is split in two. Some avert their gaze, paralyzed by fear of retaliation. Others stare openly, their expressions twisted by shock, pity, or quiet admiration. They know the imbalance here. Bradley Cole is not just a sheriff. He is a man who believes himself untouchable. In his eyes, Maya is not a witness, not a scholar, not a community leader. She is just another black woman to humiliate, another life to crush under the weight of his power. Yet in the tension of this moment, something shifts. Her silence, her steady gaze, becomes heavier than his insults. The courtroom feels the clash of two forces, arrogance versus dignity. And it is only the beginning. Have you ever witnessed someone being humiliated in public? Comment yes or no. The morning sun falls on the marble steps of the federal courthouse in Washington, D.C., but its light does nothing to soften the atmosphere. The air is thick with tension. A line of citizens snakes around the block, mothers holding children, men in work uniforms, elders clutching faded documents, all waiting for their turn to enter. Yet the way they are treated reveals everything about who this system serves. Two officers stand like gatekeepers at the entrance. Their eyes scan the crowd with a cold calculation, deciding who belongs and who does not. A white man in a tailored suit strides confidently forward, and without a word, the officers nod and let him pass. He doesn't even break his stride. Moments later, a Latina mother with her teenage son approaches. One officer sneers, jerks his thumb toward the side, and mutters, "Step aside. You people use the service entrance." The line stiffens. Whispers ripple through the crowd. Some lower their heads, obeying out of fear. Others clench their fists but remain silent, knowing resistance will only bring trouble. The steps of the courthouse, supposedly the gateway to justice, have become a stage for humiliation, where race and class dictate the rules. And in the middle of it all, Dr. Maya Washington stands. Her steady stride draws the gaze of both the officers and the people around her. They mutter behind her back, probably here to beg for mercy. Trash. The words sting, but Maya keeps moving forward. Each step on those stone stairs feels like defiance, like a declaration that she will not be erased. The courthouse has not yet opened its doors, yet already the truth is laid bare. Justice here does not begin with fairness. It begins with prejudice. Do you think justice in America is truly equal? Share your opinion below. The marble steps echo under Dr. Maya Washington's heels, each click of leather against stone sharp enough to cut through the murmurs. Her black blazer fits snug against her frame, her hands clutching a slim leather folder, but it is her posture that captures attention. Spine straight, chin lifted, eyes locked on the courthouse doors as if nothing else exists, but around her the atmosphere is poisonous. An officer leans back against the railing, smirking as his gaze follows her. "Look at her. Thinks she belongs here," he mutters. Another chuckles, loud enough for the line to hear. "Probably came to beg for help. Just another piece of trash." Laughter breaks out. Short, sharp bursts that cut into the morning air. Whistles follow, mocking, cruel, as though the dignity of a black woman daring to walk with confidence is a joke too good to resist. The people waiting in line react in different ways. A few look away, ashamed but silent. Some bite their lips, pity shining in their eyes. Others lower their heads quickly, eager not to draw attention. Everyone knows the danger of speaking up against uniformed power. Yet Maya does not slow. She does not acknowledge the jeers, nor does she let them bend her gaze. To retreat would be to accept their narrative. Instead, she pushes forward, her every step a quiet rebellion. Inside, her chest tightens. She has endured insults before, but each one still feels like a blade reopening old wounds. And yet, She refuses to give them the victory of seeing her bleed. What the crowd does not realize is that her silence is not weakness, it is strategy. Every insult hurled only sharpens her resolve. Each sneer becomes fuel. By the time she reaches the courthouse doors, she is no longer just a woman in line, she is a storm gathering, calm on the surface, but ready to break. Pressed against a cold stone pillar near the courthouse gate, a young man fumbles with his phone. His hands tremble, not from the chill of the morning, but from the weight of what he is about to do. His thumb hovers for a second, then presses. The screen glows. The small red dot begins to pulse. Live. At first, only a few dozen names flicker across the screen. Curious strangers type, "What's happening? Where is this?" The image shakes slightly, then steadies as the young man locks his focus on the line outside the courthouse. His camera captures the scene in brutal clarity. Officers sneering, the poor being shoved aside, and in the middle of it all, Dr. Maya Washington, head high, walking through a gauntlet of hatred. "Look at this," he whispers into the phone, voice barely audible, but raw with urgency. "This is supposed to be a courthouse. This is what they call justice." As Maya climbs the steps, another insult cuts through the air. A child asks his mother why the police are being so cruel. The mother pulls him close, whispering through tears. The officer overhears and laughs, his voice sharp enough to stab. The live stream audience reacts instantly. "This can't be America." "Keep filming, don't stop. The world needs to see this." The viewer count surges, climbing from dozens to hundreds in minutes. Angry emojis flood the screen, mixed with messages of support. "Stand strong, sister." "We see you, Maya." The young man swallows hard. His palms sweat, but he doesn't stop. He knows that what his lens captures today may ignite something far larger than himself. And in that moment, the balance of silence begins to tip. If it were you, would you dare to live stream injustice? Comment yes or no. The wooden doors of the federal courtroom swing shut with a heavy thud, sealing the chaos of the outside world behind them. The air inside is colder, sharper, as if even the walls themselves have absorbed decades of intimidation. Uniformed officers line the benches, their boots planted firmly, arms crossed in smug solidarity. Sheriff Bradley Cole sits near the front, sprawled back in his chair as if it were a throne. His eyes find Dr. Maya Washington the moment she steps inside. He smirks, lips curling with contempt, and his voice tears through the room like a blade. "A woman like you thinks she belongs here? Go home and wash some dishes." The words land with brutal force, drawing laughter from the rows of officers behind him. They pound fists against wooden desks, whistles and jeers, rising like a twisted chorus. The sound bounces off the brick walls, ricocheting until it feels deafening. For them, this isn't a courtroom. It's a circus, and Maya is the spectacle. Maya does not flinch. She does not speak. Her silence is deliberate, her gaze steady. Yet the cruelty continues, louder, sharper, designed to strip away her dignity. In the far corner, a frail, elderly woman trembles, tears spilling down her face. Her voice cracks as she cries out, my husband died because of this man." For a moment, the laughter stumbles. Eyes dart nervously. But then Bradley Cole chuckles, dismissing the tragedy as if it were nothing. "So what?" he sneers. And the officers resume their mockery. The citizens in the gallery sit paralyzed. Some stare at the floor, others hide their faces in their hands. Fear silences them, even as their hearts pound with anger. And at the center of it all stands Maya Washington, alone yet unyielding. Each second she refuses to break transforms her from a target into a presence impossible to ignore. The laughter still rattles against the walls, but its rhythm falters when the frail elderly woman rises shakily from her seat. Her hands tremble as they clutch the edge of the bench, her voice quivering with grief that refuses to stay buried. My husband hanged himself after Sheriff Cole tortured him." Her words slice through the mockery like a jagged blade. The courtroom freezes. For a heartbeat, even the most arrogant officers stop mid-chuckle, their smiles stiff. The air thickens, pressing down on every chest. The woman's wrinkled face collapses under the weight of memory. Tears stream freely as her voice cracks, each syllable drenched in sorrow and fury. "He came home bruised, broken. He couldn't take the shame, the pain. And you laughed then too." Maya Washington turns her gaze toward the woman. For the first time since entering, her expression softens, her eyes heavy with empathy. She knows this pain intimately. It is not just one family's tragedy. It is a chorus of voices silenced by the same system, each story buried beneath official reports stamped case closed. But Sheriff Bradley Cole doesn't flinch. He leans back in his chair, chuckling low as if the woman's confession is no more than a dull anecdote. "So what?" he drawls. His words drip with disdain, and with a wave of his hand he signals the officers to resume their laughter. The mockery returns, but it is strained now, hollow, carrying an undercurrent of unease. Among the citizens seated in the gallery, whispers stir. A middle-aged man bows his head into his hands. A young couple grips each other's palms tightly. The truth the old woman has spoken cannot be unsaid. And though Cole laughs louder, the crack in his wall of control has already begun to spread. The old woman's sobs still echo when Sheriff Bradley Cole suddenly rises from his chair. His heavy boots strike the stone floor like warning shots. Before anyone can react, his hand arcs through the air and crashes against Dr. Maya Washington's face. The sound, sharp, blistering, snaps the courtroom into a suffocating silence. The laughter dies instantly, replaced by gasps that hang in the air. Maya staggers, her head jerking to the side, hair tumbling from its neat frame. One hand instinctively reaches for her cheek, now red and swelling. But Cole is not finished. He leans close, his voice a venomous hiss, every syllable spat like poison. "These are my laws, not justice. Don't you ever forget that." Two officers seize Maya by the arms. One jerks her hair back with vicious force, yanking until she cries out, not in surrender, but in pain, restrained by grit. They drag her across the cold floor, her heels scraping, the leather folder falling from her hands. Blood smears across the tiles as her lip splits, the crimson stark against the pale stone. The gallery watches in horror. Some avert their eyes, unable to bear it. Others lean forward, fists clenched, fury burning beneath their fear. A little boy whispers, "Why are they hurting her?" His mother pulls him into her arms, trembling. At the back, the reporter's camera clicks furiously, flash after flash capturing each brutal second. The young man's live stream shakes as his audience explodes with outrage. This is America? They're beating her in court? And through it all, Maya does not plead. Her silence becomes heavier than the violence itself. Every drag, every blow only hardens her resolve. She is bleeding, yes, but she refuses to bow. The scrape of boots against stone echoes as the officers drag Dr. Maya Washington across the courtroom floor. Her palms skid against the tiles, her hair torn loose, her breath ragged. Blood drips steadily from her lip, tracing a crimson path behind her. The room holds its breath as if justice itself has been suffocated. Bradley Cole watches with satisfaction, his baton tapping against the desk like a judge's gavel of tyranny. "Let them see," he growls, his voice carrying across the chamber. "This is what happens to anyone who dares to stand against me." His words are met with a few forced chuckles from his men, but the laughter no longer rings with confidence. It trembles, hollow, as if even they sense the weight of what is unfolding. Maya braces her hands against the floor and slowly pushes herself upright. Her body trembles from the strain, her cheek swollen, her knuckles scraped raw. Yet when her face lifts, her eyes are steady, burning, unbroken. She does not scream. She does not beg. She simply stares. That silence is heavier than any cry could ever be. It spreads through the courtroom, pressing into the hearts of everyone present. An officer, hand still clutching her arm, suddenly shifts uncomfortably under her gaze. A few spectators wipe at their eyes, torn between fear and admiration. Cole snarls, unsettled by her composure, but Maya's silence is a blade sharper than words. Her unyielding stare slices through the mockery, exposing its cowardice. She has lost blood, endured humiliation, yet in this moment she looks untouchable. And for the first time, the courtroom begins to feel the crack in Bradley Cole's absolute control, not through force, but through a silence that refuses to break. The courtroom feels frozen in time, every eye locked on Dr. Maya Washington, her silence ringing louder than Bradley Cole's threats. The officers grip her arms, prepared to drag her further, when suddenly a sliver of silver light cuts across the floor. It happens quickly, almost too subtle to notice. As Maya shifts, something slips from the fold of her blazer pocket, a corner of hard plastic, metallic letters catching the harsh neon glow. It dangles for an instant before tucking back into the fabric, but the flash is unmistakable. A few spectators at the back exchange startled glances. One man leans toward his wife, whispering, "Did you see that? Something shiny, like a badge." She stiffens, clutching his arm, and hisses, "Don't say a word. They'll hear you." Yet the thought cannot be erased. At the bench, a young officer's eyes flicker toward Maya's pocket. His grip on her wrist tightens, then loosens involuntarily. Doubt seeps in. What if this woman is not who Cole insists she is? What if she carries something far more dangerous than defiance, something official? The reporter, lens pressed against his face, catches it. His pulse spikes as he zooms in, snapping frame after frame of that fleeting glint. He doesn't yet know what it means, but instinct screams that this single detail could shatter everything. Bradley Cole notices nothing. He leans back in his chair, smirking, confident that he has already broken her. But in the silence, murmurs ripple through the gallery, faint but growing. Did you see that? Was that... For the first time since the trial began, suspicion shifts the air, and Maya, battered yet unbowed, presses her palm to her pocket as if protecting a secret the world isn't ready for, but soon will be. The murmurs swell, whispers darting from one row to another, but Sheriff Bradley Cole waves them off with a scowl. "Silence," he barks, pounding his baton against the desk. "This woman is nothing. She belongs on the floor?" His words ignite a cruel laugh from the officers surrounding Dr. Maya Washington. One yanks her upright by the arm, another shoves her shoulder hard enough to send her staggering. Blood trickles from her lip, her vision blurs, but her footing holds. Cole steps closer, his shadow stretching over her like a noose. "Kneel," he sneers, "show them your place." For the first time, Maya moves, not to shrink, not to yield, but to strike. With a sudden burst of precision, she pivots on her heel and drives her foot upward. The kick lands squarely against Cole's chest with a force that knocks the wind out of him. The courtroom gasps as the sheriff stumbles back, his baton clattering against the floor. Officers freeze, mouths open, as their invincible commander crashes into the bench behind him. For a heartbeat, silence rules the chamber. The gallery erupts, not in laughter, but in disbelief. Some rise to their feet, hands covering their mouths, while others cheer under their breath, unable to contain the surge of hope. The young man's live stream shakes wildly, comments exploding across the screen. "She fought back. Did you see that kick? Finally." And at Maya's feet, something falls. A small card, sliding from her blazer pocket, face down on the stone floor. The crowd stares, every eye fixed on the rectangle that could change everything. Do you think she should have fought back sooner? Comment your thoughts. The small card skids across the cold stone tiles, spinning once, twice, before landing face up. The harsh fluorescent light above catches its surface, and for the first time, the truth glimmers in full view. It is not a driver's license, not a credit card. Bold letters stamped across the top read United States Federal Government. Beneath it, the seal gleams, unmistakable, undeniable. A hush sweeps the courtroom like a sudden wind extinguishing every laugh. Officers who only seconds ago sneered now stare at the badge as if it were a live grenade. The young officer holding Maya's arm releases her instantly, stepping back as though burned. Gasps ripple through the gallery. A middle-aged man rises from his seat, pointing at the badge, his voice breaking. That's federal clearance." The crowd surges with murmurs. "Who is she? What does this mean? Is she one of them?" Bradley Cole stumbles upright, fury flushing red across his face. He snatches the badge from the ground with shaking hands, holding it up as though to destroy it. But when his eyes scan the text, the blood drains from his cheeks. For the first time, the sheriff is speechless. Maya steadies herself, wiping the blood from her lip, her gaze fixed on Cole. She doesn't reach for the badge. She doesn't need to. Its mere presence has already shifted the balance of power. The reporter's cameras snap furiously, capturing every angle, while the livestream chat explodes with capital letters. "Federal. She's not just anyone. They messed with the wrong woman." In that moment, the courtroom no longer belongs to Bradley Cole. The authority he wielded so carelessly now quivers in his grip, exposed by a single piece of plastic and truth too heavy to bury. The silence fractures into whispers. At first, it's only a handful. Soft, cautious voices tucked between gasps. But within seconds, the entire courtroom hums like a hive disturbed. "Did you see it?" a woman hisses, clutching her husband's arm. "That was federal." Another leans forward, voice low but urgent. "She's not just some protester. She's somebody big." The murmurs weave through the gallery, swelling louder, sharper. People lean across benches, whispering into strangers' ears, eyes darting toward Dr. Maya Washington as though seeing her for the first time. No longer a victim, no longer just another black woman being silenced. She stands taller now in their eyes, cloaked in an aura of mystery and power. Even the officers shift uneasily. One young deputy glances at Cole, then back at Maya, his jaw tight. His grip on his baton loosens. Another clears his throat nervously, muttering, "Sir, maybe we should—" He stops when Cole shoots him a glare. But the seed of doubt has been planted. Bradley Cole's face twists between rage and fear. He slams his palm against the desk. "Quiet!" he bellows. But the command rings hollow now, swallowed by the restless tide of speculation. The people have seen too much. They cannot unsee it. In the back, the reporter lowers his camera, whispering into his phone. "It's real. She's federal. This story just changed." The livestream comments surge. "Who is she?" "Expose them. Justice is coming." Maya lifts her chin, her silence as steady as a blade unsheathed. Around her, the murmurs grow, layering into a chorus of anticipation. The room is no longer laughing. It is holding its breath, waiting for the truth to erupt. The atmosphere inside the courtroom has changed. Moments ago, every eye followed Bradley Cole, waiting for his command. Now, they track Dr. Maya Washington, bleeding, battered, but unbroken. The badge glints on the table where Cole dropped it, a symbol that refuses to be hidden. The officers surrounding Maya hesitate. Their boots that once stomped with certainty now shuffle against the stone floor. One young deputy stares down at the badge, then at Maya's steady face and lowers his baton. Another swallows hard, his confidence cracked. It is clear, the shield of Cole's authority is beginning to fracture. In the gallery, people sit straighter. Where fear once bent their spines, curiosity and awe now lift their shoulders. Whispers have turned into open stares. Stares not at Cole, but at Maya. An older man leans forward, nodding slowly as if recognizing something long denied. A young woman grips her phone, live streaming without shame now, whispering into her mic, "This is history. We're watching it happen." Bradley Cole senses the shift and snarls. He slams his baton against the bench, but the sound does not command as it once did. Instead, it startles only his own men. Even the jeers have died, replaced by the restless murmur of a crowd slipping out of his grasp. Maya stands taller, her silence louder than Cole's fury. Blood stains her collar, but her eyes are unyielding. For the first time, power tilts visibly in her direction. Not because she raised her voice, but because she refused to be broken. And everyone in that chamber feels it. The sheriff's grip on fear is slipping, and a new force is rising in its place. The murmurs swell until they feel like a rising tide, threatening to drown Sheriff Bradley Cole's every command. His voice booms, "Quiet, sit down." But it no longer carries authority. It echoes against walls that refuse to listen. And then, slowly, Dr. Maya Washington steps forward. Her movements are deliberate, every stride steady despite the blood staining her collar. She reaches the table where her badge lies and picks it up with calm precision. Her fingers curl around it, the weight of truth settling into her hand. Cole's face pales, his jaw clenching. "Don't you dare," he growls, but Maya ignores him. She turns toward the gallery, toward the sea of eyes, officers, citizens, reporters, all caught in breathless silence. Then, with a voice firm and resonant, she speaks for the first time. "My name is Dr. Maya Washington, Deputy Director of the United States Federal Justice Department." The room erupts. Gasps echo like thunder, colliding with shouts of disbelief and cries of vindication. Officers freeze where they stand, their weapons hanging useless at their sides. Spectators leap from their seats, phones raised high to capture every second. On the livestream, comments explode. "Deputy Director? They assaulted a federal official. This changes everything." Cole stumbles back, sweat beading his forehead. For the first time, his arrogance fractures into visible fear. His men look to him for orders, but he offers none. His silence is the loudest admission of all. His reign of unchecked power is over. Maya holds her badge high, her eyes sweeping across the courtroom. She does not smile, does not gloat. She simply lets the truth speak for itself, and in that moment, justice begins to shift. Was this reveal shocking to you? Hit like if it took your breath away. The sound inside the federal courtroom is chaos. Gasps, shouts, the scrape of chairs as people rise to their feet. But outside, far beyond these walls, something even larger is happening. On the young man's phone, the live stream counter surges like a rocket. What began with dozens has now crossed into thousands, and then tens of thousands. In living rooms, offices, subway cars, and classrooms across America, screens light up with the image of Dr. Maya Washington holding her badge aloft, blood on her lip, fire in her eyes. Deputy Director of the Federal Justice Department. The caption scrolls across countless shares. Viewers gasp in real time. Some scream at their phones, others sit in stunned silence. Comments pour in so fast the feed can't keep up. They assaulted a federal officer. History is happening live. The whole system is exposed. In a cafe in Chicago, a barista abandons her shift to huddle with customers around a tablet. In Los Angeles, a crowded bus erupts into shouts as passengers pass around a phone, disbelief written on every face. In a New York newsroom, editors slam their desks. Get this on the front page now. Twitter surges. Hashtags blaze into existence. Yet justice for Maya. Yet federal truth. They erased. Within minutes, her name climbs to the #1 trend worldwide. News anchors interrupt broadcasts mid-sentence. Their screens split to cover the live footage pouring out of D.C. Back in the courtroom, Maya lowers her badge slowly, her silence steady. The nation is no longer a passive witness. It has become a jury of millions. And in that moment, Bradley Cole is no longer just a sheriff on trial for cruelty. He has become a symbol of a system unraveling in the glare of the public eye. Sheriff Bradley Cole staggers backward, his once ironclad presence unraveling thread by thread. The badge in Maya's hand gleams under the courtroom lights, and with it, the myth of his untouchable authority crumbles. For years, his voice had been enough to command silence. Now every word he shouts bounces back hollow, stripped of power. "Arrest her!" he bellows, his face flushed red with rage, but his deputies do not move. One officer stares at the floor, unable to meet his gaze. Another glances toward Maya, then away again, shame tightening his jaw. Their batons remain at their sides, heavy and useless. "Do you hear me?" Cole roars. "I said arrest her." Still, no one obeys. The silence from his own men is louder than any defiance. It is mutiny in its purest form, not with weapons drawn, but with refusal. The gallery watches with wide eyes. Citizens who once trembled now sit straighter, emboldened by the sight of power slipping. The elderly woman who had cried earlier clasps her hands together, whispering a prayer of gratitude. The young man with the live stream tilts his phone closer, capturing Cole's collapse in real time. Cole slams his fist against the desk, but the sound is a weak echo compared to the roar outside the courthouse, where chants are beginning to swell. He looks around, searching for allies, but finds only shifting eyes and stiff silence. For the first time in years, Bradley Cole is truly alone. And across from him stands Dr. Maya Washington, battered yet unshaken, her silence turning into the sharpest indictment of all. His power is gone, and everyone in the room knows it. The silence inside the courtroom feels suffocating, a fragile pause before something breaks. Sheriff Bradley Cole still stands at the front, red-faced and sputtering, his orders ignored. His deputies avoid his gaze, their loyalty dissolving like sand slipping through fingers. Then a small voice pierces the stillness. "She's the one who saved us." All heads turn. It's a boy, no older than 10. Standing on the bench beside his mother. His small finger points straight at Dr. Maya Washington. His mother tries to pull him down, fear etched across her face, but the child doesn't waver. His words echo louder than the sheriff's shouts. The gallery stirs. A woman claps her hand to her mouth, tears spilling over. A man rises from his seat, fists clenched, his voice shaking with conviction. She's not the criminal here, she's the truth. The dam breaks. Voices swell, no longer whispers, but declarations. "We see you, Maya." They can't silence her. The chamber trembles under the chorus of raw defiance. Maya does not raise her hand for quiet. She doesn't need to. She simply meets the boy's gaze, offering the faintest nod, an acknowledgement, a promise. The strength in her silence feeds the strength in theirs. Cole's eyes dart wildly around the room. The laughter that once followed his cruelty is gone, replaced by tears, cheers, and cries of rage. His kingdom of fear is collapsing, not under weapons, but under voices that refuse to be silenced any longer. And in the center, Maya Washington stands as the anchor of it all, bloodied, scarred, but transformed in their eyes from victim to savior. The roar of voices in the courtroom spills into the streets, and within hours it spreads far beyond Washington, D.C. What had begun as a live stream has become a national crisis. The United States Department of Justice cannot ignore it. That same afternoon, federal officials arrive at the courthouse. Black SUVs line the street, agents in dark suits push through the crowds, and the press cameras flash relentlessly. Inside, Sheriff Bradley Cole's arrogance crumbles further as a senior investigator steps forward, her voice crisp and unyielding. By order of the Federal Justice Department, effective immediately, an internal investigation into Sheriff Cole and his officers is underway. All records, all files, all evidence are to be seized. Gasps ripple through the gallery. Officers shift nervously, realizing the shield of immunity they had long hidden behind has shattered. Computers are confiscated, filing cabinets cracked open, sealed boxes pulled from storage. Years of carefully buried secrets rise to the surface. Reporters swarm, broadcasting every detail. Headlines blaze. Feds seize records in Washington, D.C. Courthouse scandal. Sheriff under federal investigation after assaulting deputy director. Maya Washington stands silently as agents move with military precision around her. She does not need to direct them. The machine of justice is finally turning on its own. Her badge, once doubted, now drives an entire federal force into action. Cole lunges forward, shouting, "You have no right!" But his words are drowned out by the sound of locks breaking and files being carried out in boxes. For the first time in decades, the courthouse itself feels like a crime scene, and the man who ruled it through fear now stands in the shadow of the law he thought he controlled. The boxes spill open under the harsh fluorescent lights of the courthouse basement, now transformed into a federal evidence room. File after file is pried from the shadows, dust rising like ghosts unwilling to stay buried. The agents flip through pages, their faces tightening with every discovery. It begins with names, hundreds of them, lists of detainees marked suicide or natural causes. But the photos tell another story. Bodies covered in bruises, wrists burned from restraints, teeth shattered. Reports stamped with Sheriff Bradley Cole's signature reek of fabrication. Identical phrases, repeated excuses, lies layered over blood. One agent holds up a file for the room to see. 32 deaths in custody in the last 5 years, all under his watch. The words are met with stunned silence, then outrage. Another uncovers falsified witness statements, signatures of people long dead. Evidence boxes reveal confiscated belongings never logged, cash gone missing, phones destroyed. The press leaks the discoveries in real time. Headlines erupt across the nation. Torture cover-up at federal courthouse. Dozens of wrongful deaths linked to Sheriff Cole. Whistleblowers silenced for years. In the courtroom above, the gallery receives updates through buzzing phones. A young man reads aloud, his voice trembling. They're finding proof of everything, the deaths, the lies, all of it. Tears streak down faces as truth long suspected finally emerges. Cole sits slumped at the defense table, sweat dripping down his temples. His eyes dart wildly as though searching for an escape route that no longer exists. The badge in Maya's hand has unleashed a flood that cannot be stopped. And for every victim once erased, their names now rise from the pages, demanding justice the system tried to deny. The courthouse is no longer Cole's fortress. It has become a stage for confession. Reporters cluster around the steps outside, cameras flashing, microphones raised. The chants of protesters echo down the street, demanding answers, demanding justice. Then the impossible happens. A group of deputies, men and women in the same uniforms that once enforced Cole's tyranny, step forward. Their shoulders sag under the weight of years spent obeying corrupt orders. One removes his hat, clutching it tightly, his voice unsteady as he faces the cameras. "My name is Officer Daniel Ruiz. I've served under Sheriff Cole for 7 years, and I can't stay silent anymore." Gasps ripple through the crowd. Ruiz swallows hard, then continues. "We were ordered to falsify reports, to write suicides where there were beatings, to bury evidence, to intimidate families who asked too many questions." His voice cracks. "We knew it was wrong. We knew, but we were told if we spoke, we'd end up just like the people we arrested." Another deputy, a young woman barely in her 20s, steps beside him. Her hands tremble as she grips the microphone. "I'm sorry," she says through tears. "I'm sorry to every family we lied to. I'm sorry to every name in those files. I thought I was protecting myself, but I was protecting a monster." The crowd roars, not with anger at them, but with a strange mixture of grief and hope. For the first time, the wall of silence inside law enforcement is cracking, and through it, the truth pours out. Cole, watching from the courtroom window, pounds his fists against the glass, his rage useless now. His own men have become the witnesses who will bury him. Would you forgive officers who confess and expose the truth? Comment yes or no. By nightfall, the streets of Washington, D.C. are a sea of bodies and voices. Protesters flood the avenues, their chants pounding against the walls of the courthouse. Justice for the erased. Maya Washington. The glow of thousands of candles flickers like a river of fire, stretching block after block. The scene repeats itself across the nation. In Chicago, crowds gather at Daly Plaza, raising photos of men and women once dismissed as suicides. In Atlanta, a choir leads the march with hymns that transform grief into thunder. In Los Angeles, students climb atop cars, holding signs painted in bold red, "Truth cannot die." Everywhere the same name rises, Maya Washington. To some, she is a deputy director. To others, she is a sister, a mother, a symbol of what it means to endure. To all, she has become a rallying cry against the system that tried to erase her. Families of victims join the marches, holding framed photos high. A woman in New York City lifts a picture of her brother and cries, "He was one of them. He's finally seen." The crowd answers with chants, louder and louder, as though calling the dead back into history. The protests are peaceful, but their force is undeniable. Streets shut down. City squares overflow. Helicopters hover overhead, capturing the magnitude for a world now watching. Inside the courthouse, even the federal agents pause at the windows, staring at the ocean of lights below. It is no longer just Maya standing against Bradley Cole. It is an entire nation, unified by grief, fury, and the determination that this time silence will not win. By dawn, America is awake to a new reality. Every major network interrupts its programming, screens flickering from sports and sitcoms to the same footage. Dr. Maya Washington, blood on her collar, badge raised high in a trembling courtroom. Anchors speak in clipped, urgent tones. Breaking news from Washington, D.C. A deputy director of the Federal Justice Department assaulted in open court. The words scroll endlessly across tickers. Experts fill panels, their voices overlapping as they debate what this means for law enforcement, for the justice system, for the country itself. But the mainstream media is only part of the storm. Online, the wildfire rages faster. The hashtags are relentless. Justice for Maya. The erased. Federal truth. By mid-morning, they dominate every platform, climbing into global trends. TikTok fills with stitched clips of Maya's silent defiance, set to music that transforms her into an icon. On Twitter, screenshots of Bradley Cole's stunned face are turned into memes of downfall, shared millions of times. Even international outlets pick up the story. London, Paris, Johannesburg. Headlines spread across front pages. American sheriff exposed in federal court scandal. Commentators abroad ask the same question Americans whisper at home. How deep does the corruption go? In cafes, offices, schools, screens glow with the same images. Teenagers huddle around phones. Workers pause mid-shift. Strangers lean over each other's shoulders on subways. The footage is everywhere. It cannot be contained. And at the center of the storm is one woman, Maya Washington. Once humiliated, now elevated to a symbol the system cannot silence. Every article, every post, every broadcast carries her name. For Bradley Cole, the court of law may come later, but in the court of public opinion, the verdict has already been delivered. What began with one sheriff now spreads like cracks through marble. The federal investigation uncovers not only the brutality of Sheriff Bradley Cole, but also the rot above him. Judges, men in black robes who had sworn oaths to uphold the law, are implicated one by one. In seized emails, investigators find instructions buried in cold, bureaucratic language. Case dismissed, evidence inadmissible. Seal the file. Names of judges appear alongside Cole's, approving false reports, signing off on fabricated testimonies, protecting the very machine of abuse. The revelations hit the press within hours. Anchors speak with trembling voices. At least 4 federal judges under scrutiny for collusion with Sheriff Cole's office. The words send shockwaves through the nation. Courtrooms, once considered untouchable, are now painted as stages for injustice. The gallery in D.C. reacts in disbelief as updates pour in on glowing phone screens. A woman clutches her chest whispering, "Even the judges?" A young man slams his fist against the bench, fury shaking his voice. "We trusted them. We trusted all of them." Protests swell larger. Outside courthouses across the country, demonstrators gather, no longer calling for just Cole's arrest, but for a purge of every corrupted official tied to the scandal. Signs rise into the air. Clean the bench. No more silent robes. Inside the D.C. courthouse, Maya Washington listens silently as federal agents list the names aloud. She doesn't flinch. She knew the rot was never just one man. She knew the system itself had been poisoned. Now the world knows too. And with every revelation, the foundation of blind trust in the justice system shakes harder, threatening to collapse under the weight of truth. The world has seen many images of resistance, but none quite like this. A woman, bloodied and bruised, standing tall in the center of a federal courtroom, her badge raised high against a tide of corruption. That single frame of Dr. Maya Washington has already circled the globe, plastered across newspapers, television screens, and phone feeds. In murals painted overnight on city walls, Maya's profile rises in bold colors, a golden badge clutched in her hand. Street artists in New York stencil her image with the words, "Truth lives here." In Atlanta, church choirs sing her name between hymns. In Los Angeles, college students march with banners reading, "Maya stood, so we rise." For those who once felt invisible, her silence in the face of humiliation has become a roar of defiance. She is no longer just a deputy director. She is a symbol of every black woman who walked into a room and was told she did not belong. She is proof that dignity, held firm, can topple arrogance built over decades. International outlets call her America's conscience. Commentators speak of her as the spark of a movement that may redefine justice itself. But for the families of the erased, Maya is something simpler, more sacred. She is the one who made the world finally see. And as protests swell, as investigations deepen, her name continues to rise. Maya Washington is no longer just a woman. She is a symbol, a promise, a revolution embodied. If you believe black women can change the system, share this video now. Weeks pass, but the fire does not fade. It grows. Across the United States, reforms are drafted at breakneck speed. Independent oversight committees are established, wrongful convictions reopened, and officers tied to Cole's corruption are stripped of their badges. Judges implicated in the scandal face impeachment hearings live on national television. At the center of it all stands Dr. Maya Washington. She does not campaign for glory, nor does she bask in the spotlight. Instead, she travels quietly from city to city, meeting grieving families, listening to their stories, ensuring their voices reach the halls of power. Her presence brings both comfort and pressure. Comfort to the people, pressure to the system that failed them. The image of Maya has become permanent in American memory. In classrooms, children write essays about her courage. In neighborhoods, murals carry her likeness as a reminder that silence can be strength and dignity can be a weapon sharper than steel. The boy who once pointed at her in court now walks beside his mother at rallies, chanting her name with pride. Survivors of injustice call her not just a leader, but a mirror of their own resilience. And Maya herself? She carries the scars of that day, the split lip, the bruises, but she wears them as badges of survival. Her voice, steady and resolute, reminds the nation, justice is not a gift, it is a right, and together we will claim it. The courthouse that once echoed with laughter at her humiliation now stands as the monument of her victory. Do you want to see more stories of black women leading justice? Hit subscribe now.